Hi everyone. How are you doing today? I'm Mate Competition Coordinator Jill Zande, and I want to welcome you to our Facebook Live event. We have Competition Technical Manager Matt Gardner, who's going to describe and demonstrate the 2017 Scout Class Competition Mission Props. So what's so exciting, what's so exciting is not only are you going to be able to see the actual props that will be used in the competition, but you're going to be able to ask questions and get answers live directly from Matt throughout this broadcast. We're so excited to bring this to you. So before we get started, I just want to let you know that this is not our first, this is actually our second Facebook Live event. Hopefully you caught our first over the weekend at the workshop that we held here in Monterey. And this will definitely not be our last competition Facebook Live event. We have a series of Facebook Live events planned for the month of February where Matt's going to take us through the competition props for the other classes. We'll do Navigator, Ranger, we'll do Explorer. You're not going to want to miss those. So what you can do to make sure you don't miss it is you can subscribe. You can subscribe on the screen. You should see me and you should see the ability to subscribe. So you'll receive notifications of when we go live again. So definitely make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Matt Gardner. Here you go.
Hi all, I'm Matt Gardner, the Competition Technical Manager, and today we're going to run through the Scout class props, and as I said, feel free to ask questions. We are here in Monterey in one of our Mate workshops, so if you've ordered anything from the CMate store, it was probably put together or was spent some time in this room before it got sent out to you. So we have the task laid out. Now we're kind of in a weird space, so this is probably not the actual layout you might see in the pool, but we just kind of got everything crowded in here. And in the background you may see some of our student workers here at Monterey Peninsula College wander around. I won't embarrass them by introducing them, making them introduce themselves or anything like that. But as Jill said, as we go along, if you have questions, type them in. Jill will get them and she will ask me. So we are going to start, and we're going to start with task 1, which is Commerce, the Hyperloop construction. And this one actually has to be done in order. So, on a construction project, you can't skip steps, you can't jump ahead usually, so you have to do it in order. So the first thing is installing the frame into the base plate. So this is kind of our pool side deck. So this is going to be on the surface side of the pool. This is your frame. It's got you can pick it up by this rope or any way you want, so you don't have to use this rope. This rope has a little float just so it holds up in case you drop it. And you have to take this down and set it in the base plate. So it has to go completely in here. It can't be up on the side. So if it's up on the side, that's not quite in. You need to get it all the way down in here. And just some notes for if you're building this in this base plate, I actually put some rebar in here so it makes it a little heavier, and if you bump it, it's not going to move around. So that's the first task, is putting that the frame into the base plate. So after you do that, somewhere down within a meter or two, there's going to be the hose, and the hose is a nice U-bolt on this cross with this airline tubing, and you're going to have to pick this up and put it in there. It's got to be essentially all the way inside the frame. So it could be there, however you want it, but it can't be like that. That's not quite in. You want it all the way in there. Okay, and then after that, you have to pick up the 3 positioning beacons that are around. And the positioning beacons are just these little couplings. These are 1 1/4 inch couplings, and they've got some Velcro hooks on each side. And those hooks, you don't have to use those to pick them up, but you can just, makes them a little bit easier to pick up. So these, there's going to be 3 of them down there, 1, 2, and 3. Got to pick these up and bring them back to the surface side of the pool. You can bring them up 1 at a time, 2 if you can get all 3 at once. That is great. And you can set them there on the surface side of the pool, and then you will get your points for that. Okay, so that's about it for task 1. As I said, if there are any questions, feel free to write in, and we will get those questions answered. So task 2 is the entertainment, light and water show maintenance task. And this one must be done in order. Mostly, I'll talk about the one step you can do a little bit out of order. But the first thing is, here's our setup back here. And you're going to have this rig with the valve on it. And then this is your fountain, which is going to be in here. And the first thing you have to do is come down and turn this clockwise at least 360 degrees. So one time around, and you'll notice we have this one arm painted red, or it's going to be a bright color, so looking down in the pool, you and the judges can see how many times it goes around. So clockwise once around. There you go. So you can go a little more. It's not, you don't have to stop exactly at 360, but that one around 3 times. And then what you have to do is you have to come pick up this fountain. So this fountain is going to be sitting on this platform. And again, this rope has a little bit of flotation. So it'll hold it up, and you don't have to use this rope to pick it up, but you can. So you have to pick this up and bring it back to the surface. Now this is the one thing you can do out of order. Once you pick this up, you can bring it back to the surface. Then, or you can put it down, do something else, come back, pick it up, and bring it back later. So this needs to come back up, and I think we got a question. So Jill, what's our question?
Hey Matt, we have a question from Prem. Hey Prem. Prem wants to know, could an ROV place a basket on the pool floor and drop items into it, then take the basket up to the pool side?
That's a great question, and yes, in the rules, you can build your own collection basket, whatever you want to call it. You can actually use a rope and pull it up by hand, but what that does is that does constitute debris. So if it's in the pool at the end of the mission, so when your 10 minutes is up, or however long you have for the Scout Class mission, if that's still in the pool, you get 5 points. So if you're doing that, make sure you pull it up. When that judge is counting down those last few seconds, make sure you get that out of the pool.
We have another question. Hey, Damon. Damon asks, for the construction tasks of fitting one piece into another, is there any partial credit?
No, there's no partial credit. You either get it or you don't. So essentially, you get points for getting that in the base plate, and you get points for putting the hose in there, but no, there's no partial credit. Now, so on some of these tasks, and I'll talk about it in a little bit, you do get points for starting when you pick it up, and then more points when you return it. But at least for the construction, you only get points for returning these positioning beacons to the surface. Hope that answers your question.
Awesome, good question.
Okay, so where were we? So we just brought one of these fountains up to the surface, and on the surface there's going to be a second fountain. This is a new fountain, and it needs to come down, and it has to go all the way into this little circle. So if you can see, drawn in marker on here, there's this little black circle. So this would not count because it's not all the way in the circle. So you got to position this, you can bump, push, so it's all the way in the circle. And once you do that, you've got your points. And then the last thing is, once you've got the new one positioned, you have to now turn this counterclockwise, again, 360 degrees, one time around, and there you go. And so this actually, I'll just so you know, this does go a lot more. This goes about 3 to 3.5 times around, but for Scout Class, you're only having to do it once in it. We've made them so they spin pretty easily as well. Okay?
Hey, not a question, but Osiris. Hey, Osiris. Greetings from the Dominican Republic. Greetings back. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, great. Okay, so our next task we're going to work on is Task 3, Health Environmental Cleanup. And for the Scout Class, we're not really talking about Ramon lasers. I just want to say, if you look at some of the references we have, the overall task includes Ramon lasers, which are a really, really, really cool technology. So I recommend, if you can get out, maybe read some information about them. They're a laser that you can actually tell what that's made of. So I just want to say, it's a really, really cool technology. We didn't really highlight it for Scout, but if you get a chance, look at some of the references.
And thanks, Wes Thompson, for providing us with all those references. Awesome. Thank you, Wes.
Yep. Okay, so for Task 3, the health one, you can actually do this in any order, and what you have to do is you have to pick up some clams and a sediment sample, and it doesn't matter what order you pick them up. So for the sediment sample, it's this big PVC end cap, and again, it's got the rope with a little float, so this should be floating up, and you can pick this up. And for this one, you do get points for just picking it up. And what picking it up means is it's under control of the ROV and no longer touching ground. So if you're just kind of dragging it along or pushing along, that doesn't count. But once it's under control of your ROV, up off the bottom you get points. And then you get more points for bringing it back to the surface side of the pool. The next part of this is we have a little clam bed, and these clams, they're 1.5 inch pipe or 1 1/4 inch tees, or couplings that get cut, so they're all about 2 to 3 centimeters wide. And they go in this clam bed, which is a small rectangle. And what I found is we say there'll be 25 or more. 28's are a really good number, because you can see they kind of sit up above, so they're a little bit easier to grab. They're not all down in there. But anyway, you have to grab 2 of them and bring them back to service. So again, you get points for getting them under control of the ROV, up off the bottom, and then more points for bringing them back. And I did have a question, not from this, but it was asked on the board to me, is can you bring back more than 2 clams? So yeah, if you come in here and you grab 5 or 6 clams and bring them all back, that's fine. Now you're only getting points for 2 of them, but if you bring back more, that's not a problem.
That was a great question on the forums board. And I just want to say, yes, we'll give a shout out to Clarenville Middle School Tiger Sharks. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to all the competition teams looking and competing. There you go. Back to Matt.
Yeah, glad you're looking. So the last part of this is there's going to be this cap, which is made out of just a little bin. This is a Sterilite 6-quart lid, plastic lid, and we've got this little handle on top. And you're going to have to place this over the clam bed. So at this point, there may be clams spilled out, but that's okay. What it has to do is any part of this has to go over any part of this clam bed, the rectangle. So even that is good enough, because a little bit of it is over the edge. That wouldn't work. That would be great, but even that is good enough. Okay. So we're going to move on to task number 4, which is safety risk mitigation. And so this one can kind of be done a little bit out of order, but there's some logic. And so with this one, the first thing is we tasked all scout teams, you're going to have to create a magnetic reed switch sensor. And so what that entails is on your ROV, you're going to have a little magnetic reed switch just like this. And then on the surface, you need, of course, power. I'm powering this one I built with a 9-volt battery. And then we have some indicators. So what you want is when this switch gets turned on down underwater, you want to be able to see something on the surface. So what I have is I have a little buzzer. Let me take that off so it's really, really loud and annoying. And we have a little light. So when this magnetic reed switch gets close to a magnet, it's going to beep and this light's going to turn on. Okay? So what you have to do, and sorry, one of the other questions we had about this, or one of the comments was, do you actually have to make a magnetic reed switch? Can you determine which of these are magnets by another means? And the answer is yes, you actually have to make a magnetic reed switch sensor. That's one of the things we are tasking Scout class teams with this year. So out in the mission area, there are going to be these 4 containers, and each one is going to have a different color tee. So we have yellow, orange, red, and purple. Now you may see some different colors, but there are going to be 4 different distinct colors here. And you're going to have to come down and test each one of these. So as you get your little magnetic reed switch, and this will be on your ROV, so we're going to start here, and we are going to test the orange one. So this is, you want it to get close to this, and nothing's happening. So that would tell me that this is not a magnet. This is what we're calling a blank. So even though it looks like it, it's not a magnet. And so this container does not contain hazardous materials. So now let's try this red one. Okay, so if you want to film right over here. So when I do that again, what you're going to see is that LED is going on and that buzzer is making a lot of noise. So that's your indicators are going off, and what that's telling you is, hey, this one does contain hazardous cargo. And so you're going to note somewhere, or in your brains, red is hazardous cargo, and then this is where you can do it out of order. Once you see one with hazardous cargo, you can get one of these markers. These are just O-balls. And what I like to do is I put just a little elbow in here, because they still roll some, but this keeps it from rolling a lot. And since we know red is a hazardous cargo, got to come down and drop this somewhere near here. Now, we just defined it as near, so it doesn't actually have to be inside, but it just needs to be dropped near here. Now, if it was out in the middle, I would say the judge doesn't know where to drop it, so it does need to be right in there. So that's one of our hazardous ones. So let's try purple now. So we're going to fly our ROV out. And there it goes again. So we've got the buzzer and the LED.
That's loud.
It is loud. And remember, competition day, you may be next to other teams doing the same thing, so something loud may be good. If it's a bright sunny day, you may not be able to see that LED, so maybe a buzzer and an LED or something else might be good.
Hey Matt, could we take a
Yeah,
time
sorry,
for some
question.
questions? Okay, cool. I want to give the shout outs that people are asking for. Golden Columbians of Columbia River Maritime Museum. Hey Nate, good to see you on there. Hey Xavier, of course we'll give a shout out to EA Hall Middle School. Why not? Okay, so we've got some questions here. Can we attach a GoPro? Xavier wants to know.
So, yes and no. The problem with the GoPro is GoPros do have batteries in them, and we do not allow batteries in our pool. So, although you could attach a GoPro, you're going to actually have to power it from something other than the batteries inside it. Now, there are some aftermarket things you can do to a GoPro to make it happen, but it's a little more difficult. Now, if you want, I think we have allowed just one of the team members or someone to hold that GoPro underwater. You can maybe even ask the divers to hold it for you. But no, it actually can't go on the vehicle if it has batteries in it.
All right. Hey, cool. And Xavier, I want you to do us a favor. If you heard that answer, give us a little shout out or a thumbs up so we know that you got that and you're watching us and hearing us live. Another question. Got some more questions. Okay. So, Joe Ohama says, or asks, I should say, for the first task, is the Velcro hard or soft?
This is industrial strength Velcro. So I just went to Home Depot and got some black industrial strength Velcro. And this is actually the hook side. So this is kind of the scratchier part, not the wool part. So if you wanted to use this Velcro to pick it up, you would probably have the wool part on your vehicle and the scratchy part is on here.
Okay, and Victoria, sorry, getting all these questions
yeah, that's
about
great.
cameras. This is awesome. Hey, Victoria, question, what kind of cameras can they use?
Well, actually any kind of camera you can use. One of the things we do a lot with the Mate Center is those backup cameras that you have in your car. Probably if you're on a scout team, probably your parents' car. But for the car, those work, because actually those are nice because those run off 12 volts and that's what we are powering it with. Now those you are going to have to waterproof. If you look, some of them say they're water resistant and there's some numbers involved with that, but we always recommend if you get one of those cameras to waterproof it. And actually if you look online on our the Mate Center's website, we have some curriculum, we have some instructions on how to do a ruggedized waterproof camera. So essentially you're putting that in a tube with some cords and putting some epoxy to pot it all up. But you can actually find some great instructions for how to make a waterproof camera on our website.
Awesome.
Next question.
Oh my God, this is awesome. So Anna Lee, I saw your question come in. Hi, Anna Lee from the Dominican Republic. She wants to know, can she paint the ROV and then can they use PVC glue to get it together?
So for the first question, yeah, paint your ROV any colors you want, school colors, something neat, cool, that's great. PVC glue, yes, you can use PVC glue. However, one of the things about PVC glue, when you use that, it makes it really brittle. So when your ROVs are like banging up against the side of the pool, and let's be honest, you know, they bang up against things quite a bit. That can tend to snap, especially if you have some longer pieces. One of the things we recommend is actually putting in a little screw. So if you have, let me grab this just to show, as an example. If I wanted to put this together, I would just put a little screw, get maybe a 1/2 inch screw and put one there, and all around. And what the screws do is it allows it to flex a little bit. So that's a good way to get your PVC holding together. Screws may work a little better than glue, but yeah, you can use glue.
Okay, awesome. We got a lot of questions. Hey, Iridan, if I'm not pronouncing it right, my apologies. But yes, a shout out to the string theory schools.
Woo.
Xavier, your whole ROV team is there. Hey guys, good to see you. Saw you this weekend. Glad you're tuning in. And Amy, Puerto Rico, shout out to you. I hear you. We'll see you. All right, back to you.
Okay, no more questions? Excellent.
Not right now.
So anyway, what we had identified was that the purple one was a hazardous container, this one off. So we're going to get another of our oval markers, bring it down, and put it in here. Now, we know that essentially in the manual it says 2 of these are going to be hazardous and 2 of these are not. So we know this one's not hazardous, but actually to get points, you still got to test it. So here's my marker or my magnetic reed switch sensor on my RV. So I'm going to go down and just test this yellow one over here and make sure that, yep, this is not a magnet, this is not hazardous cargo container. So then we know that we do have two that are hazardous, two that aren't. But again, as I said, to get those points, to get 10 points each, it's 5 points here and 5 points there. You got to measure and test each one of them. And I think that's about it. That's it for the missions. Again, if you have any questions, go quick because we're going to be wrapping this up pretty soon. Everyone, thanks for writing in, and I think Joe might say this, but I will too. If you have additional questions on the Make Center, the forums, you can ask them there. So you just go log in. It's really easy. You ask them there, and unless I'm super busy, I usually get them answered in 3 days to a week. It depends, sometimes a little longer, but I will do my best to answer your questions. And sometimes I'll say, hey, we need to discuss that. So sometimes we go a little longer. Yeah.
And that's good. So do you want to go over? So Matt's pointing y'all to the competition forum board, and should definitely go there. Check out the MATE website. Can you go over some other questions that you got on the forum board while I see if any last minute questions come in?
I think I did. I answered some of them through there. One of them was about how many clams you could pick up. One of them was, yes, you actually do have to build a sensor. You can't just use another way to go over. We talked about, someone asked about the collection basket you can use. For Scout class, I know someone asked about a camera. One of the nice things about the Scout class is actually you're allowed to just look right into the pool. So that's nice as well. You don't actually need a camera, although cameras are allowed.
Oh, got another question. Got another question. Okay, from Team Freedom. Hi, Team Freedom. How many people can control the robot?
So for Scout class teams, your team can be as big as you want, although I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But when you go onto the pool deck, so when you're standing on the side of the pool running, you can only have 4 team members on that team. So you can have one controlling the robot, maybe one tether manager. You can have 2, controlling it. Especially for Scout, since everyone can look at the pool, you can have all 4 of you there helping out as need be. So I talked about, you can have larger teams, but one of the things we find is if you have a really big team, you may just not have enough to do. So we like kind of teams, a 3 or 4 to 5 works really well for the Scout class.
Okay. I got a lot of things. Okay, yeah. Total shout out to the Valor Christian School from Portland. Thank you for tuning in. Got some questions from Zenny and from Annalie. Yeah, we're going to be doing another one of these for the Ranger class. So Matt will take questions and go through all of that, and we'll answer. We'll do the same interaction for the Ranger class. That'll be coming up. A way that you can make sure you don't miss it is if you subscribe. Don't forget, click subscribe, and you'll not miss a thing. Other questions. Hey, Maureen Barrett, nice to hear from you.
Hi, Maureen.
Maureen asks if the Scout class sensor kit is on sale in the MATE store yet. Great question. We just talked about this yesterday.
It is not up there yet. It will be as soon as possible. I think we've ordered the parts and they'll be in. So yes, it should be up there very soon. But if you want to come in close, again, what this one is, and there are other ways to build it, but just a 9-volt battery, and we use a 9-volt and a little 9-volt battery holder, a buzzer, an LED, and you want to get a bright LED. I actually had another one, and the LED wasn't real bright, and it was hard to see. And then this is about, all this wire, I just chose red and blue, is about 30 feet, so that should be long enough to get you down. And then on your ROV, what you're going to want to use is one of these magnetic reed switches. And what a magnetic reed switch is, for those of you who aren't as familiar, and I familiarized myself with these, we did this about 10 years ago. We were using these in the MATE competition. But this is just an on-off switch that turns on when it's in the presence of a magnet. So what's down on these, where as I said, 2 of them have magnets, and that activates, closes this circuit, so electricity will run through all of this. And the ones that aren't magnets didn't activate it, so nothing happened.
Okay, more comments, more questions.
Excellent.
All right, hey Mitch Randall. He said he doesn't remember seeing O-balls in the Scout class prop building instruction. Are they there?
In the parts list, they may or may not have been in there. I believe you can get O-balls at stores. I think we have them in the CMATE store, but they should be they should be as part of Task 4. That's a marker for Task 4.
Cool, sweet. Okay, Xavier, hi Xavier. Are there instructions to build the sensor on the MATE page?
So actually, there are not instructions because we're actually leaving that up to you. So what we have is, I kind of described what you need in your circuit, And Xavier, you were here this weekend and we went over this. So hopefully you can remember a little bit, but you need a battery, a power source. And then you have your magnetic reed switch down on your ROV, and there are the part numbers on the Scout Class part list where you can get these. And then you just need some sort of indicator. And again, we have 2 indicators, 1 LED, 1 buzzer. And the reason I put 2 on here is, as I was saying earlier, if it's a bright sunny day, you may not be able to see that LED. If it's really loud and lots of chaotic stuff happening around you, you may not be able to hear that buzzer. So having a couple indicators up here, but what we want is a power supply, some indicators, our switch, and then the wire to complete our circuit from one side of the battery all the way back to the other side of the battery.
Awesome. Oh gosh, another question. Hey, we got a big following in the Dominican Republic.
Excellent.
I'm excited. Hey, Team Freedom. So Carlos wants to know, how many cameras can the robot have? A Scout Class robot?
Right, yep. So a Scout Class robot, you can actually, I believe, have as many cameras as you want, but I will have to double check those, but I think Scout Class, you're allowed 1 video display screen. So if you have a bunch of cameras, they can only feed up to 1 screen. You can use a split screen. There are ways you can run through various cameras, but you're only allowed 1 video screen for that.
Okay. Another question. So Vladimir, yes, we are going to do another Ranger. We are going to do a Ranger class fly through. So if you've checked out, and this is good because this means you have been looking at the Mate competition pages. For those of you who haven't checked them out recently, if you look under Scout, if you look under Navigator, we actually have fly-throughs of the mission tasks up there right now. We work with Kendrick. Shout out to Kendrick Bender in Maryland. He does the fly-throughs for us. We're going to do a Ranger one. I'll get that posted today. I've seen it. Looks good. Matt approved it. We're going to have an Explorer one up there too. So it's coming. Thanks for noticing. Good job.
The Ranger one, hopefully we'll get up today. There was one little fix, unless Kendrick fixed it.
Yeah.
Shortly, but it'll be up shortly, and they're awesome. Kendrick was great.
Yeah.
He's great.
Cool. So I think I'm looking, and we've been on, guys, it's been a great session. And I have to thank Newman, one of our CMate students, who is behind the camera so I could field all these questions. That's awesome. I didn't anticipate so many coming in. And we've got Matt, another Matt over there, another CMate student who's working away. So as Matt Gardner said at the beginning, we're in the CMate workshop, and we've got students in here. Newman, sorry, you're going to get on there. There's Newman. So I think we'll wrap it up. Just want to say goodbye. Bye from
thanks for
Matt. And just remind you, again, we're going to do one of these for the Navigator class, the Ranger class, and the Explorer class. And the way that you can make sure you don't miss it is make sure you just subscribe. Click on that subscribe button. You'll get notifications when we go live again. And make sure, keep looking at the Mate Competition web pages, because good eye, you guys, for catching that we posted some fly-throughs. We'll be posting the Ranger and Explorer class fly-throughs and a whole lot more this competition season. So we'll say goodbye. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any more questions, go to the Mate Competition website, go to the forum section, put them up there as Matt told you. He'll get to them. He'll get you some answers. All right. Thanks. See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Have a good rest of your day.